Welcome to 1000 PS, welcome to Germany, welcome to the press introduction of BMW's R12 G/S, not GS. Because this is a throwback to the original bike, which I think the first designs were in the 70s, launched in the 80s, and was kind of famous for doing amazing stuff at the Dakar. Now, before I get into anything too technical, just take a moment. That is a good looking bike. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm over 40, but I really like air-cooled bikes. I really like air-cooled BMWs. I really like bikes like the BMW R9T. And I love the fact that BMW have tried to do something retro, a little bit different, with the old 1200 air-cooled Boxer and put it in this kind of 80s throwback that is a homage to the original bike that BMW designed, not by marketing people, but just as a bit of an idea. Let's just go with it and see what happened. This is the kind of baby GS. This is the bike that started the famous GS. If it hadn't been for those designers in the late 70s and early 80s, would we have the world's most successful bike like the GS? Possibly not. So what BMW have done for 2025 is keep a lot of the styling and a lot of the engine and very similar chassis to what the other air-cooled models in this range are. But then they've given it more attitude with more off-road styling while making sure it kind of follows the silhouette and the style of that early 80s bike. And I think they've really hit the mark. Obviously, you've got modern touches, it has to be Euro 5 compliant, we've got LED headlights, we've got cornering ABS, we've got 3 rider modes depending on how many accessory boxes you tick, you've got cruise control, you've got heated grips, so you've got everything that people in the 80s would have only ever dreamed about. But it's all wrapped up in this lovely retro styling. Now, the reason that that bike is immaculate and it looks like I've been sleeping in a forest for a week is because we've been to BMW's Enduro Park, where we got to ride the kind of off-road spec'd equivalent of the R12 G/S. So in that we had the full accessories pack for riding off-road, which actually means a different rear wheel. So in standard you get a 17-inch rear wheel, but if you want to go off-road you can swap that for an 18-inch rear wheel, which then gives you more ground clearance, and it also increases the seat height slightly. The forks now go flush with the top yoke rather than being dropped through, and it just raises the whole bike to give it more ground clearance when you're trying jumps and something stupid. And yeah, we did. We tried some jumps. Why not? Why wouldn't you on a nearly £18,000 brand new bike? But that was the fun and that's the enjoyment of doing it. I was really surprised with what the bike is capable of. We absolutely smashed it. We went over big rocks, we went through deep water, we did some jumps. I didn't actually fall off, which I'm still amazed by, but some of that was actually probably down to the excellent ABS. So there's Enduro ABS and you can feel it working. It's really kind of, for a rider of my level who's probably a bit above average, it rescued me on several occasions because you can grab the front brake, you can feel the ABS working, it rescues you when you're in that rut, you release it and go again. But equally, when you see a crowd of people, you've got no ABS on the rear, so you can jump on the back brake and make it look kind of cool. So everybody thinks you know what you're doing, but you actually don't. The power delivery low down is really soft, really usable, really drivable. It's just chugs along. It just kind of turns on the back wheel. It just kind of rolls up the rear sprocket. It goes up a sense that you just don't think it's going to go up. We had the really off-road biased Metzler tyres. I think they were the Karoo tyres, and they just found grip everywhere. And the bike performed really well. I'm old enough to remember riding the GS, the actual GS, when this was a new engine. And I remember riding it off-road, and it had a lovely kind of feel to it and a lovely low balance because all the weight was really low in the chassis. And this carries on to the modern retro looking G/S. It's got a real nice usability at low speed. It is a little bit heavy, you can't pop it over logs, you can't just wheelie it at will. It's not an enduro bike, it is a weighty adventure bike, but what you can do off-road is really impressive. Then we flick to a more road focused bike, So the 18-inch wheel was replaced by the standard 17-inch wheel. We had more road-focused rubber, and we had a few more road-focused accessories. On the road, it's very usable, it's easy to ride, it's accessible. It does everything that you would expect it to do. Some may argue that 110 horsepower isn't enough, and some would argue that we've gone back in time, and we have a little bit. It's got a quick shifter, but it's a little bit, I wouldn't say agricultural, it's just that we've been spoilt by 1250 GSs and 1300 GSs and modern day engines. So if you're used to a modern day engine and modern day fueling and modern day gearbox, then you're going to go, ooh, this is a bit of a step back. But I kind of like that. I kind of like the feeling of that. I kind of like the little rock that you get from side to side. And I used to have the R9T last year, and I grew to love that bike too. In terms of negatives, it's a little bit strange to have the key where an ignition barrel should be, even though it's keyless. That's for the steering lock, but you can always kind of see the key when you're riding it, which has got no key in it. So that's just a little bit odd. The clocks, if you're used to BMWs, they normally have huge clocks that are hugely informative. These are small and not as informative, but in keeping with the design. There's even an analog speedo that you can go for. Do you remember those, where the needle actually goes up and round? And then finally, I think price, which it always is, sadly, with BMWs. Yeah, the quality is absolutely superb. I think it looks stunning, I think it feels quality, and if you park it anywhere, it's going to have a crowd of people who remember the 80s flocking around it. But the base bike starts at 14,420, which is reasonable, and then you go to about 17,000 once you start ticking a few accessories boxes, and then it's easy to go north of 18,000, which is a lot of money for a really cool retro looking adventure bike. Especially when there's other bikes in this market like Guzzi's V85 and Triumph Scrambler that have less power and not as capable off-road and arguably not as desirable, but are considerably cheaper. But time will tell. Will be people looking at the price, or will they be reminiscing the 80s where we had mullets and Baywatch was awesome? Right, let me not digress about the 80s too much. But the big one for me will be when we put it against that retro competition. I'm looking forward to getting out some 80s, early 90s riding kit. I'm looking forward to putting it against other retro scramblers. The only sad bit is I won't be able to grow my mullet back. But if you want any more technical details about the bike, seat height obviously depends on which back wheel you've gone for and which suspension you've gone for. But if you want any weights and figures and really specific details, please fire some questions below. Me or one of the guys from 1000 PS will get back to you as soon as possible. The next time you see me, hopefully we'll be reminiscing the 80s, we'll get a group test together and we'll have some really cheesy kind of music to match it. Thanks for watching, see you on the next one.